Hello and welcome to Channels Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumo, and it's great to be on the show. It's election season in Nigeria, and it's all politics, politics, and politics. Well, that's why we've got this book here for you today. Fellow Nigerians, it's all politics. Written by Simon Kolawole. Simon Kolawole, you must know, is one of the most celebrated journalists and columnists in Nigeria. What Simon has done here is to put together some of the articles he's written or he wrote between 2003 and 2022. You can imagine the large amount of articles he had to choose from and put together to publish this fascinating book. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. One of the things I've enjoyed about this is, it just made me remember the conversations and the debates and the issues we were addressing back in 2003, 2005, 2007, 2011, 2015, 2018, as we prepared for elections and so on. It's almost heartbreaking to realize that some of the issues we're dealing with then are the issues we are still dealing with now. Some of the issues the politicians campaigned on back then are the issues they are still campaigning on now. So what happened? What happened to all those great promises? Well, Simon Kolawole joins us to discuss his book, his very intriguing, interesting book, I have to say. He joins us to discuss it and, of course, talk about politics. Enjoy this.
Simon Kolawole is a columnist and founder of The Cable, an online news media. Kolawole is an alumnus of the University of Lagos and the University of Sussex in the United Kingdom, where he was a British Chevening Scholar. He was a Mo Ibrahim Fellow on the Governance for Development in Africa initiative at the School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London in 2010. Kolawole was an editor at This Day newspaper between 2007 and 2012. He joins Channels Book Club to discuss his book, Fellow Nigerians, It's All Politics.
Simon Kolawole, thank you for joining us on Channels Book Club. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well done. I've been your fan for many years, as you well know, and I'm so glad that you've done the hard work of compiling your very many fascinating articles into this book titled Fellow Nigerians, It's All Politics. Nice title.
Yeah.
Why did you pick that title?
Yeah, I like to watch things from my balcony. I like to watch things over a period of time. And what I've discovered that when politicians fight or tell us they're doing something for the public good, or they are doing it for Nigeria to be better, to fight this, to fight that, after some time, like I found out that actually they are being motivated by politics. Not most of the time, anyway, let me be fair. It's just motivated by politicking, not because anybody really cares about Nigeria. No, it's not as if they are doing it for the love of God. So when you are hearing people saying they want to rescue Nigeria, they want to change Nigeria, they want to revive Nigeria, they want to recover Nigeria, I tend to understand as just politics. So how do I win this election? How do I get elected? How do I get applause from the public?
What you have explained now is a theme that runs through your book, but I'll come back to that. I would like viewers to have a general overview, to get introduced to this book. Can you run us through it in terms of how you have separated the different parts? I know the book has about 4 parts. What will the reader of this book find when he or she opens the pages of this book?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very interesting question, because it's a selection of dozens of articles. the book covers the articles I've written from the year 2003, I think, up till some parts of 2022. So, and I've divided them into 5 articles that I wrote and were not published, or fresh articles. You also have the ones that are called the best, the most read, the most commented on, the most popular. I have that section too. I have one on politics and politicking, economic and economics, and I have one on general things, miscellaneous, that covers the music, the several aspects. Now, when the reader picks the book, what the readers are going to find out is that the same issues appear to be what we discuss all the time. Every time there's a new government or we're approaching elections, it's almost the same issues. We are still talking about poverty rate. We're still talking about unstable power supply. We're still talking about bad roads. We're still talking about hospitals that don't have drugs, that don't have doctors. We're still talking about schools, laboratories that don't have chemicals. We're talking about libraries that don't have books. So you just discover that it's the same issues we are discussing over and over and over and over again. And what that tells me, really, we can look at it from different ways that, okay, we are making progress gradually. Yes, I agree. I'm one of those people who believe that we are making progress in certain areas. But another thing it tells you is that we are not really focused. We are not really pouring our energies into the things that we should pour energy to. And the implication of that is, as you can see in several articles, is that we keep going in circle. You take one step forward, you take 2 backward. Today we discuss insecurity, we discuss kidnapping, Boko Haram, bandits. And I'm saying, look, I wrote an article several years ago, not exactly predicting what is happening, but saying, look, all these things that are happening now, we are going to reap the benefits in the future. Benefits, quote unquote. That the people we are not sending to school now, we are going to face issues in the future. The issue of kidnapping will become retail kidnapping, not even the oil-related kidnapping that we were having in the Niger Delta when I first spoke about this, that your house girl, your security person, your security man, they are watching. And the way the country was going, the gap between the rich and the poor, something's going to happen eventually. We are planting seeds. We are sowing the wind that will reap the whirlwind. So you can see that as a thread in the several articles that I wrote over a period of almost 20 years. You just discover that these things are ever present.
Spot on. Reading your book, that is exactly what came to my mind. Here I was reading articles you wrote way back 2003, and I'm saying, these are the same issues, 2004, 2005. These are exactly the same, because the country is heading into elections right now. And at times, the way, because of all the passion and all the heat and all the drama, that come into play when elections are approaching, at times, it's very easy for us to forget that, hey, if in 1999, when we were preparing for elections, in 2003, when we were preparing for elections, 2007, when we were preparing for elections, these were the same issues. We still don't have power. Power was a major subject in 1999 when we were transiting into democracy. Power is still a major subject in 2023. Is that one of the things that, hurts you the most? Because reading your articles, at times, I can feel your emotions, and in many of the articles, you said almost the same thing, that politicians need to stop politicking and need to start doing what politics is actually meant to do, which is for the good of society. I see that consistently in your write-ups, from your earliest write-ups in this book until the most recent ones. Is that right?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very painful, because you and I know that some of these things, they don't require rocket science. It's not as complicated as doing brain surgery. What does it take to build a refinery if you want to build one? What does it take to address the power sector problems. So in 1999, we voted for a new government saying, oh, that power will be stable now, or a refinery. They said it was because Abacha's family was importing petroleum products. That's why the refineries were not working. Okay, we had 8 years of Obanjo. The refinery still did not work. We were still importing petrol and diesel and kerosene. We had 3 years of Aradua. It's still the same story. Jonathan was there for 5 years. The refineries still did not work. Buhari has been there for 8 years. The refineries still do not work. I saw an OPEC, I saw data on OPEC countries recently, and Nigeria's utilization of refinery was put at 1%. 1%, the lowest among all oil producing OPEC members. So there's no way to hurt you because you know that can be done. You know that it can. The money we have spent. Somebody was telling me, I've not confirmed, I've not verified, let me say that we have been spending an average of $1 billion a year trying to put refineries back since 1999. We say we are doing turnaround maintenance. So how much will it cost you to do a new refinery altogether? So it's very painful because you know that this can be done. It's about the political will. It's about the honesty. It's about the desire to see things change. When APC was coming in 2015, for instance, they said we're going to, I have the policy document, the policy document. They said we're going to put the refineries they were going to bring them back to life. That they were going to do what they call the LNG model, in which the oil majors will own 49%, the federal government will own 51%, and they will run these refineries. But here we are, almost 8 years. Nothing. The refineries are still where they were. Every new NNPC MD will tell you, this thing will be back. If you give me $2 billion, this thing will work. Every new NNPC MD, that's what they've been doing. And we are back to the same. So it's very painful because you know that Nigeria can be far better than this. I'm not saying we should be equal to China. I'm not saying we should be equal to Japan. I'm not saying we should be equal to US. But what does it take to make a refinery work? What does it take to generate electricity, transmit electricity, and distribute it? What does it take? Do we need God to come down to fix these things? Human beings are doing it elsewhere. So it's very painful. I try to contain my emotion. I try to contain my temperament, but I am hurt that we are running a country like this when things can be further, better done if we are really sincere, if we are really honest. Not that we are just doing things for the sake of politics, just making promises for the sake of politics, pronouncing policy, making manifesto, promising people all kinds of things on election, just for the sake of politics, not because we want to change the society.
Simon, let me read let me read something you wrote, because you are speaking as you write, as you wrote and as you write. Almost from, you said here in page 101, an article you wrote in 2007 titled, "Ladies and Gentlemen, It's All Politics." Remember that article?
Yes.
So you wrote here, you said, you wrote here, each time I read quotes from politicians in newspapers or see them do gymnastics on the television or read some funny newspaper adverts, anger burns within me. I see lying and deceit in human flesh. Maybe because of the privileged information available to me as a journalist, I easily see through all the sham being sold to the public under the pretense of defending democracy and fighting corruption or working in the interest of my people. This was 2007 when you wrote this. That's quite a while back. Now, let me read something very similar that you also wrote in 2013, 6 years later, in an article titled "Fellow Nigerians, It's All Politics." Similar, almost similar titles. He said, about the same time in my dearly beloved country, our multi-billionaire governors and other politicians were meeting day and night and day over who controls the meaningless political billionaires club. Their disagreement was not about building world-class hospitals and world-class schools. It was not about fixing the potholes that litter our roads all over the Federation. It was not about ending infant and maternal mortality. It was not about making Nigeria a land of trade and tourism. It was not about turning Nigeria to an exporter of mobile phones like South Korea or dairy products like the Netherlands. The goal of political power, as far as they can see, is intrigues Politics starts and ends with elections. Development is a distraction. Wow.
You may have wrote that?
I mean, this is election period in Nigeria. Do you see the same thing, or have things changed? This is 2023. If you were to write this article now, would you be writing the same thing?
I will write the same thing. But maybe now I'm getting older, I'm more tempered. I'll put it in the lighter language. But it's the same thing. I hear the same things at election times. Oh, this is the honest guy. This guy does not even own a petrol station. Oh, he does not even eat. He's so frugal. We hear that all the time. But why are we here? Why are we still here? We've voted for people that, oh, this one has a PhD. Oh, this one has a master's. Oh, this one is a university graduate. Oh, this one. We have done all that. And the results are so similar. So I'm asking myself, is this for real? I am somebody who believes that Nigeria can be better. I believe Nigeria will still be better than this. But I think politicking is what takes the better part of us. Even among the voters, we are easily aroused by emotions. What the politicians are telling us, they whip up ethnic emotions, religious emotions. They know what we want to hear, so they tell us. But when it now comes to governance, it is something else. If all the promises politicians have been making since 1999, if they had fulfilled, not all, if they have fulfilled 50% of those promises, we won't be where we are. We voted in Buhari in 2015 saying we will fight corruption. I don't think we are still saying that now. I don't think we are still saying that. I mean, not long ago, the president even pardoned his major achievements, those that were convicted under his government. He pardoned them and let them go from prison. So I am no longer excited by political promises, by election rhetoric. I'm no longer excited. I'm just watching everything from my balcony. And I said, but haven't I seen this before? Haven't I heard this before? That sounds so familiar. That is my own. That's I will do this, I will do that. I will do this, I will do that.
Simon, is a bit depressing, I have to say. But, I mean, you didn't just bellyache, forgive me for using that term. There's a lot of bellyaching in your writing, I have to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is fair because there is no Nigerian today that is not bellyaching. We're all pained, and you as a journalist, as a writer, as a columnist, you've done well in expressing the feelings of Nigerians a lot in your writing. So it's fair. But you've also, in your writings, going through this book, you've also made a lot of suggestions and offered a lot of solutions, to many of these problems in your book. And it's a pity you've not published this particular write-up because, like you said at the beginning, the first section is dedicated to, is all about articles you've written, but you've not yet published. Okay, there's one interesting one here. It's not dated because you've not yet published it.
Yeah.
The search for a perfect president. And I read it and I said, oh, this is a perfect article for this time that we're in. And one of the things that you've said in this article is that there really is no perfect leader, and we will not find the perfect president. And of all the candidates out there now, none of them is perfect. And of all the presidents we've had in the past, despite all their issues, some of them did some good, and despite all their imperfections. So I read it and I said, wow, I wish everybody could read this now. But let me read somewhere in this article, page 33. You wrote, my central argument, though, is that we are never going to get that president who does not have underbellies, contradictions, and failings. But in the end, We are not going to get God to come down from heaven and govern a country. It is human beings like us that will still have to do the job. Whoever is going to be elected president in 2023 will, therefore, be flawed. It is now left for us to decide what failings we can live with and how we are going to engage positively and constructively with the new leader to focus on the things that matter the most to us. I would say the economy and security are our biggest worries for now, and we should keep that in mind when we vote. Remember those words?
Yeah, I remember.
That's something you want to tell Nigerians, right now?
Yes. I will also say I've written some follow-up articles to this, in which I've explained that, one, we run a federal system of government. Therefore, if Nigeria is going to make progress at every level, our leaders must deliver, especially at the local government level. When we talk about the quality of education today, it's primary school and secondary school we are talking about. Primary school, to start with, it is under councils, as I've pointed out. It's not under the federal government. The primary schools are owned by the councils. Most of the public primary schools are made public primary schools. So when we are talking of 10 million, 20 million out of school, it is primary school we are talking about. So you can have a president who is going to energize the councils, the states, to focus on education. But it is not the president, it is not the responsibility of the president. Now, when we talk about healthcare, the primary healthcare that you even take care of your basic health challenges, diarrhea, malaria, typhoid, high blood pressure, is at the primary healthcare level. But you go there are no drugs, there are no doctors, no nurses. So you now see people, their first point of contact with a government hospital, they go to Luth or Lasut, they go to a teaching hospital, which is not supposed to be. Those are the ones controlled by the federal government. You should be able to go to seek primary health care. If it's not enough to address your problem, then you can go to a general hospital, which is secondary health care, before you go to tertiary. Again, so if I think the president, by the way the constitution is even structured, is someone who is focused on the economy and the security of this country. The council chairpersons and the governors, they run their own parts of the federation. If they are doing it well, most of the roads in your state, they don't belong to the federal government. Water, when we say people don't have access to potable water, the way water gets into your pot or to your pipe, it's not the job of the federal government. So we pile all these things on the president, and then we say, the president has failed. But we are not looking at, even healthcare, it's not even the hospital alone. If you are not drinking good water, if you are drinking polluted water, which is supposed to be supplied by the state or council, you don't have good. Then if you have if your water is pure and is safe, you won't have to go to hospital at times. Some of these diseases we get is because we don't even enjoy the basics of governance. The mosquito biting you because the sewage is not cleared, the gutter in front of your house is not cleared because the environment is dirty. It's not the job of the federal government. So yes, the president should focus energies on security and economy. But again, we have to call the councils, 774 of them, and the states to order. When I was growing up as a little kid, the gutter in front of my house was cleared by the council. We had wole, we had also. This was council job, not even the state level or even federal government level. Today we talk about budget padding. We only discuss at federal level. Nobody talks about budget padding at the state level or at the council level. But these people also do budgets. We are talking about severance package, how much a lawmaker earns. We're only talking about Abuja. We don't know how much the lawmaker in our state is earning. We don't care. When we are talking about severance package, look at how much they're going to pay national. What of your state? We don't care. We don't look into those things.
Wow. Simon, thank you very much for joining us on Channels Book Club, and congratulations on your book. Fellow Nigerians, it's all politics. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
Plenty of things to think about there, a lot to think about. If you are keen on politics or recent Nigerian history, you want to get yourself a copy of Simon Kolawole's book, Fellow Nigerians, It's All Politics. Let's go out there. Let's keep things calm and peaceful. It's our country, and we all need to work together to make it the country we want it to be. Nigeria can be great. Nigeria will be great. But it's up to you and I to make that happen. Let's set aside ethnic differences, religious differences, and all those differences that separate us. And let's make this country work for our sake, and for the sake of our children, and for the sake of our children's children. Well, it's been 10 years that we've been doing this show. 10 years. Every time I think about that. And we love all the messages you've been sending to us. And recently, we've been taking you down memory lane, reminding you of some of the interviews and events, that we had in the past over the last 10 years. We will continue with that, I assure you. There are a lot more we'll dig from the past and, put on the screen for you to enjoy very, very soon. But for now, it's all politics, like Simon Kolawole said. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.